Greetings, my little triglets. Welcome back to video trig. Today we're going to talk about partial fractions. This is actually section 8.3 and we're just tagging it on to chapter 4 because it's something that you're going to need if you take calculus. Partial fractions. Calculus is the study of the rates of change, kind of like a freeze frame approach for like one instant of time. You're going to use this process that I'm going to show you in calculus to express a function in terms of similar but simpler functions. So partial fractions, what we're going to do first is we're going to go forward, okay? And to show you the forward process, it'll help you figure out the backward process, which is actually breaking something down into its partial fractions. So let's start out with 3 over x minus 4 minus 2 over x plus 2. And I just want to put those together. Well, they're fractions, so we got to make sure that we have a common denominator. And just like if it was 1/3 minus 1/4, your common denominator would be 12. And you'd have to multiply this by the 4 and this side by the 3 to get that common denominator. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to multiply this side by x plus 2, top and bottom, and this side by x minus 4, top and bottom. Alright, because really we're multiplying by 1 then, and we're not changing anything. So next I'm going to just write this down as one big fraction. So 3 times the x plus 2 minus 2 times the x minus 4 all over their common denominator. Now this becomes a common denominator. Like here my common denominator is 12. So I just put them together. I don't say 12 times 12. I don't say 12 minus 12. I just say 12. So this is like the 4 and this is like the 3. Alright, so next I'm going to distribute on the top and just start simplifying. So I have 3x plus 6 minus 2x plus 8. Remember to distribute that negative to both of those. And on the bottom, if I FOIL that out, I get x squared minus 4x plus 2x minus 8. And then simplifying one last time, on the top I get x and 14, and on the bottom I get x squared minus 2x minus 8. Alright, so that process we are familiar with. It's all stuff that we've learned in the past about algebra and algebra 2. So what we are going to do is we're going to take this and work our way backwards. Back all the way to this spot right here. Now, you know, that can be kind of difficult. Like, how do I know the 3 and the 2? Like, how did I get that? X plus 14 does not, you know, lend itself to a 3 and a 2. So, what we're going to do, the process is called decomposing. So decomposing a fraction is breaking it up into its original pieces. So let's take that same expression, x plus 14 over x squared minus 2x minus 8, and just write down the process. So let's write down our steps over here so you can follow these on different problems. So the first thing we're going to do is factor the denominator. Okay, we've had a lot of practice in that. So I have x plus 14, and then I have x and x. The 8 can be minus 4 and a plus 2. The minus 4 plus 2 will get us that middle term. Okay, the next step is to separate the denom and use a, b, etc. as its numerator. So the x plus 14, remember, turned into a 2 and a 3, but we don't really know that yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our numerator and put placeholders in for what it's going to be. And we break up, separate the denominator, into its two parts and just put in placeholders A and B. And this is always, right here, it's always a plus sign. Okay, the negative sign will show up if it needs to, but for right now it doesn't. The next thing we're going to do, number 3, is to clear the denominator. Now, the way we do that is by multiplying by the common denominator. So multiply by the denom. All right, so our common denominator is what our denominator starts out as. So if I were to multiply each part by x minus 4 and x plus 2, on this side the x minus 4's would go away and I'd be left with a and x plus 2. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing over here, x minus 4 and x plus 2. In that case, this on top and that on bottom will cancel, and I'm left with the b and an x minus 4. Okay, and actually over here we need to multiply this by the x minus 4 and x minus 2, and that would cancel both of those with both of those because this is that. Alright, so on the left you're just going to have your numerator that you started with. So this x plus 14 is always going to go here. And then the denominator cancels, and then the right side you cancel parts of it, and you get what's left. Alright, our next step, and this is a biggie, I'm going to put it in red here, is choose to lose. Now what that means is I need to choose a proper x value to lose one of my exponents. So in my case, I see if I choose a negative 2, that will make that first parenthesis 0, and then 0 times a gets rid of the a. So that's what I'm going to choose first. I'm going to choose x equals negative 2. Then you want to substitute that in everywhere. So I have negative 2 plus 14, that's right here, and then a times negative 2 plus 2, and then b times negative 2 minus 4. So I have left 12 equals, this is gone, and then I have negative 6 times b, so b equals negative 2. And if we go back a page, right there is our negative 2. This is your negative sign and the 2. So it's already decided that it's negative, so it took care of that. Alright, the next choose to lose is we got to look at the other parentheses right here. So I want to choose a 4 this time, so x equals 4. So plug that in, I get 4 plus 14 equals a, 4 plus 2 plus b, 4 minus 4. So I get 18 equals 6a, and then this goes away so we don't have to include it. A equals 3. And back up again, so a equals 3. There it is, right here. Okay, so now, step 5, we kind of already did, solve for the variables a and b. Step 6, we kind of already did too, is repeat steps 4 and 5 until all your variables are found. And step 7, all we have left to do is to substitute back in for a and b, etc. So I'm going to take my two answers here, put b in right here, and put a in right here, and that will get me 3 over x minus 4, and then minus 2 over x plus 2. And that was what we started out with on the previous page. Okay, so those steps, those 7 steps there, you need to have handy when you do some of these problems. Alright, I got to show you one more to do. This one we're going to decompose, but it's going to be with multiplicities. So the process is a tiny bit different. Let's start out with x minus 18 over x times x minus 3 squared. That squared is our multiplicity. All right, so what we do is we're actually going to have three parts to the denominator. You're going to have x, you're going to have x minus 3, and you're going to have x minus 3 squared. So you have to count them both, but you also have to count just a plain old x minus 3 along with the x minus 3 squared. That's just how the math works. So first thing I'm going to do is separate the denominator into its three parts and put the placeholders of a, b, and c in now that we have three. So I have a over x plus b over x minus 3 plus c over x minus 3 quantity squared. So you have to do one with the squared and one without squared. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to clear the denominator. So I need to multiply each part by these three parts. I'm sorry, back up. Whoops, not like that. Back up here. This is your common denominator. Don't go by the three parts. This is not your common denominator. It's the original parentheses. So you got to ask yourself pretty much what's missing in my denominator. And that's what you're going to multiply the numerator by. So right here I have x. I am missing the x minus 3 squared. Okay, so remember this part right here, x minus 18, is how you always start. And then the a is missing the x minus 3 squared part. The x's would cancel and it would just be x minus 3 squared. Next, b, I've got it 1 x minus 3. I'm missing one of the other x minus 3's because remember this is squared and I'm missing the x. So we have to put both of those down. So technically this has two and this has two things we're multiplying by because the squared makes the parentheses twice. And then what is c missing? I've got the x minus 3 squared. All I'm missing is the x. So that's what gets multiplied by the x only. All right, the next part, choose to lose. Look at this first parentheses here. If I put a 3 in there, I'm going to get 0. So that's my first choose to lose is a 3. So 3 minus 18 equals, so this will be 0. Put it right here. That will be 0. And then put the 3 right here, and I get 3c. So 3 minus 18 is negative 15 equals 3c. So I know c equals negative 5. So that one's done. All right, look at the next parentheses, or the next thing. I'm going to choose right here. If you look at x, or you could go right here, if I put a 0 in for that, then that will make that whole thing 0. So if I choose x equals 0, then I get 0 minus 18, so negative 18. And then I have a times 0 minus 3 squared plus 0. This whole thing will be 0. And if I put a 0 in here, that will be 0 also. So two things should always cancel out. You should only have one variable left when you're working this out. So I have negative 18 equals negative 3 squared is actually positive 9. So I have 9a. So now a equals negative 2. All right, so we've got two of them. All right, the third one is a little trickier because my next parentheses is right here and I've already chosen 3. So I can't choose 3 again because I'll get the same value for c that I did the first time around. So what you do in this case is with these two answers, we're going to substitute these in, then choose any value for x that you haven't already chosen. Okay, so I've already chosen 3 and 0, so I can't choose those again. So, and I know that C is -5 and A is 2. So I'm going to plug those two in. I'm going to choose something simple like 2, just because I want to. So let's plug 2 in for X and plug in A and C. So 2 minus 18 equals A. All right, remember, this is my original setup here. So A is -2, and then I chose 2 minus 3 squared. B is the one I don't know yet. Then put in a 2 for X, so I'm right here. Now I want to put in another 2, so 2 minus 3. And then C was 5, or -5, so I plug that in and put a 2 in for X. So that gave me that and that. All right, let's work this out. I get -16 equals -2. If I work all that out, I get -2 minus 2b and minus 10. Now let's move the 10 and the 2 to the other side, so I'm going to add 12. So I get -4 equals -2b, so b equals 2. All right, we're almost done. We're going to take our A, B, and C, which we have circled right here, and plug them back in. So I have -2 for A over X plus 2 for B over X minus 3, and then -5 for C, and that was X minus 3 squared. So there we go. Okay, kind of a long process, but nothing overly difficult. You just have to be careful. The worst part of this is watching your positives and negatives. If you get something really funky, like 32/17 or something, that probably isn't right. The ones I'm going to give you should all have either easy fractions or normal whole numbers. All right, that is it for today. Trig love is all around us. Ta-ta.